Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana faces a tough balancing act when he attempts to table his third budget tomorrow. Spending cuts could feature in the absence of a tax hike as government looks to try and plug a 75 billion rand shortfall. University of South Africa's economist and author Dr Eliphas Ndou joining us now for what we can expect from the Finance Minister tomorrow. Dr Ndou, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let me not poison your mind and start with a clean slate. What are your expectations from the Finance Minister tomorrow? What should he be saying?
Okay, good evening, Polly. My expectations is that the Finance Minister has to focus more on growth, and that should be like a song to him, because all the problems that we're facing economically in South Africa here, they emanate from low economic growth. You can talk about unemployment rate, you talk about the issues of taxes, revenue, expenditure. We go back to economic growth. You talk about the government debt deficit, budget deficit to GDP ratio is about economic growth. You talk about the debt to GDP also, it's about economic growth. You talk about rating agencies. That one metric is very important. So the Finance Minister has to give us information about where is revenue going to come from tomorrow, and in which components of spending is he going to cut, as well as what is going to happen to social protection, the wages or the payments, the social grants.
Yes.
Are they going to be given inflation adjustment or not? Also remember, the areas of contention here in the past budget was the issue of the VAT. So that one we understand is likely to be out. And then the other one, which other political parties raised, was concerning the bracket creep, where the income tax brackets are not adjusted for inflation. So we expect to hear more on those areas.
I'd like to focus the attention on economic growth for a moment, because
Yes.
This has been a struggle for the country, at least for the past 15 years. Yeah. I remember a time when the president was putting forward what he called the economic stimulus. I think it was an amount of 500 billion rand. What will it take to really genuinely kickstart the economy of South Africa? What is it that is going to help it grow?
First, we need policy coordination here, because when the Finance Minister is going to table the budget in Parliament, there are also reports that are indicating that the South African Reserve Bank and the National Treasury, they are also at an advanced stage of lowering the inflation target. So there is need for a coherent policy coordination here, because if the Finance Minister is also raising rates or taxes, and then the Reserve Bank wants to lower the inflation target band, so there can be a disconnect in policy coordination there. It causes lots of problems, because all policies now will be tightening instead of loosening and being stimulatory. So policy coordination is very important. The fiscal should work with monetary policy as well as the trade policy, including the labor policy. All four of them, they should come and work together. So you need the government that sits together and plans.
Yeah.
And the government should also have experts who can quantify the relationship and see if it works out and which one is going to have the better benefits for the country at large. Because if there's no economic analysis that accompanies the decisions, then we may not achieve what we want as a 3% growth as articulated by the president.
Let's talk about the 75 billion rand gap in this budget. That is what needs to be plugged, which is paramount. I would think that the minister, as he goes to bed tonight, he's thinking deeply about that, is how does he convince the country that he is going to manage to plug this gap. He's already said that raising personal income tax is not an area he can go, because we are taxed almost to the maximum. Corporate taxes, he says companies are overtaxed. The fear there is that the more he taxes them, they leave because there is no longer profitability for their companies in South Africa. So it leaves us with spending cuts. What needs to be cut and how far can it go?
On the cutting part of it, I think that one should be directed to the departments, and they should see where is it always, because from what I've been reading that there are some departments or provinces that have sent money back to Treasury. So that money, they can also cut from there. There are also programs that they can be postponed. I think departments should also look at those programs and decide where they should cut.
And then there is the one albatross, and it perhaps is our final discussion point. This, I think it used to be called the 250 rands. It's the SRD grant. The SRD grant was always a temporary measure. The finance minister himself, before he became a finance minister, he used to head the ANC's subcommittee on economic transformation. He was very against this grant because he says these are able-bodied people who can go out there and find a job, but the economy is not producing these jobs. So what does he do with the SRD grant?
I think he has to keep it, because remember, they also want to improve the living conditions of the citizens of the country. So even those poor ones, they have also to get an improvement in the living conditions. So keeping the social grant is one way of alleviating poverty from those people who are experiencing this poverty. So it makes it an inclusive growth. So my suggestion is, or my expectation is that the Minister of Finance should keep that grant until such a time when they have good economic growth, whereby everybody can participate in that economic growth, they can get jobs.
Dr. Ndou, I have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Dr. Eliphas Ndou is an economist and he is attached to the University of South Africa. That last discussion point, I wonder how the minister is going to deal with it. The social relief of distress grant. To correct myself, it was 350. It now stands at 370 rand.